Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is the Steve Jones Show. Matt Catrillo here with you. Steve will soon be there from the Sunbury Motors Studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, pre-owned inventory. Great service department, excellent sales staff. And that's all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. And loaded 4 o'clock hour coming up today. Eagles and Steelers related. We got Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philly at 4:06. Jerry Dulac from the Steelers Radio Network, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette at 4:35 today. And plenty to talk about with both teams. Of course, not a great week for both these teams. And both have tough matchups coming up on Sunday as well, so no rest for the weary. The Eagles taking on the Chiefs Sunday at 1. Andy Reid coming back to town. And the Steelers heading up to Lambeau to take on the Packers. So we'll get into that with Dave and Jerry a little bit later on. Tomorrow, we'll have more Steeler and NFL talk with Neil Coulong. And Rich Scarcella, our buddy from the Reading Eagle, going to join us, too, to get ready for Penn State in Indiana Saturday night for the Stripe Out at Beaver Stadium. And another good day for Penn State football. Sean Clifford has now been named a semifinalist for the William V. Campbell Trophy, which, of course, recognizes an individual as the absolute best football scholar athlete in the nation for combined academic success, football performance, and exemplary leadership. So that's obviously no surprise there in all facets. Really, I think if I remember correctly, the team GPA is pretty high across the board for Penn State football, really for all of Penn State athletics. I think when I was at the game on Saturday, they honored, 186 scholar athletes that had a 3.0 or something GPA above. Sandy Barber fist pumped them going down the line I think it was at halftime during the game on Saturday. That was pretty cool. And that's great. Bucknell's the same way. They have a lot of really good scholar athletes, and most of the teams, if not all the teams, are have always done and continue to do very well academically. So that's off to the quarterback, number 14, and he's playing pretty well on the field. Career high, 401 yards, and was obviously really good against Auburn and could have won Big Ten Offensive Player of the Week that week, was Co-Offensive Player of the Week this week. Of course, that was announced on Monday. He's just been really solid for Penn State this entire season, and no doubt he will continue to be for Penn State's success rate. For all the question marks that we had about Sean Clifford, there's definitely none anymore, and he's obviously answered the bell, and he's definitely off to a much better start than I anticipated, and it's a big reason why Penn State's 4-0 right now, besides that defense. You have a good quarterback, and you got a defense like that Penn State has right now. That's why you're on the inside now of potentially being a college football playoff team, number 4 in the AP Top 25 poll before you get going here. So, big day for Sean Clifford.
Is this about the Campbell
Yes.
Award?
Yeah, I was just going through that.
Semifinals. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We were supposed to embargo it until 11, yeah. Yeah, I think that he's a semifinalist for it. I think that's awesome. I mean, you're taking care of business on a multitude of fronts like John Urschel did. You know, Trace McSorley was also a semifinalist at one point for it. I mean, so that's really terrific. And then we have the book. I'm surprised that you didn't pre-order it on the Patriots. I'm shocked that you didn't pre-order it. Papers, cats.
Yes, that's what I've been hearing. But no, I have not pre-ordered it yet.
I'm surprised. This is the kind of stuff you love. This is
Yeah,
like
but it's
right
the
up your
Patriots,
alley.
though, so it's whatever.
No, there's a lot of Patriot hate in it. Belichick's a bad guy. Brady's a bad guy. Kraft's a bad guy. Between you and the suit, I'm surprised the two of you didn't, buy 20. Give them as gifts for Christmas.
It's stuff I already knew, though, about them.
Get the lingerie on the deck. Call the janitor.
This is stuff, first of all, when it comes to the book, and we'll read some excerpts here, which will be certainly, for you personally, entertaining. Guess who's not quoted in the book?
I'm guessing Belichick, nor Brady, nor Robert Kraft.
Exactly. In fact, nobody's really quoted in the book. It's almost all third-hand or second-hand quotes. Bill O'Brien, second-hand quote. All the Brady stuff, second-hand, third-hand. Like, wow. I'm not trying to run down what the guy's trying to do here because I don't know him, but I believe Wickersham is with the Don Van Atta group, and Don Van Atta, has over his career has done some great stuff. I don't really know Seth Wickersham at all. But, man, that's a tough way to put together a book when you're not actually getting firsthand quotes from people. But this is the kind of thing that you eat up. I'm surprised you didn't lead the show with it. You decided to lead the show with something nice. What was that deal?
Fouled. That spells fouled up.
Let's face it, it's not your style. So let's get into what is your style. Patriots book goes inside secretive and controversial franchise. See, those two words right away pique your interest.
Well, it's somewhat accurate.
In the end, Tom Brady just wanted to say goodbye in person to his longtime coach. But according to a new book to be published next month, Bill Belichick said he wasn't available and insisted the two New England Patriots legends talk on the phone. It's got suit written all over it. Although, comparing Belichick to the suit, it's kind of frightening, don't you think?
No, senor! No, senor! No, senor!
Brady told a friend the fact that it came over the phone was, quote, telling about how badly the duo's relationship had deteriorated over the years. The book, It's Better to Be Feared, the story of the suit. You listen to Dave now. We have him on Thursdays. When we mention the suit, he sounds scared. No?
S-U-I-T, that spells suit-da!
The book is entitled It's Better to Be Feared by ESPN senior writer Seth Wickersham. It's to be published October 12th by Liverwright Publishing. It's based on hundreds of interviews with a range of sources, including previously confidential emails, texts, game plans, scouting reports, and internal New England studies, including one in which Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady were interviewed about personality traits that fueled their greatness. The book reveals the inner workings of the secretive and controversial Patriots franchise that dominated the NFL from 2001 to 2019, but could not beat the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Thought I'd throw that in just for you. I thought that was a good ad-lib.
Correct. The second time around.
Between the driven, proud trio of team owner Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, and Brady, it explores how some of the league's biggest names inside and outside the organization dealt with the juggernaut. The success brought out the football genius and flaws of Brady, Belichick, and Kraft, and others throughout the league, according to Wickersham. Wickersham writes that Brady ultimately left New England not only because both Belichick and Kraft refused to commit to him until his stated goal of playing until 45. It was believed that Belichick thought Brady was close to the end, but because he wanted to be an organization that welcomed his input rather than ignored it, something he ultimately found in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady had been curious if there was another way of winning, and while nobody was arguing that Bruce Arians was a better coach than Bill Belichick or even close, the seamlessness of Brady's proficiency and performance was making his former coach's methodologies look antiquated, even silly, the book says. It was better to be feared, but was it necessary? You've been in our staff meetings. You know what they're talking about. How often have you sat in the staff meetings in fear? I sit there confused, like, how can a person say that? But that's a different story. That's when we write. That's when you write your book, Matt.
That's right.
The book dives deeply into Kraft and his influence on the team and the league, portraying him as an idealistic and patient leader and loyal friend to the league, but also carrying a ruthlessness often attributed to his head coach. In 2018, with the Patriots' success and controversies wearing thin on all involved, Wickersham writes that Kraft, Brady, and Belichick were trying to set aside grievances in order to remain victorious. Brady was tired of taking team-friendly deals with no input into how the money was being saved was being spent, and still wanted a long-term contractual commitment. Belichick told associates that every organizational decision now was in support of Brady, geared toward pleasing him and making him successful, and that Kraft meddled with the team, sometimes with opinions and sometimes with restricted budgets. As for Kraft, late in September, he was in Aspen for a conference and bumped into a few friends in the hotel lobby early one morning. He told them that he was leaving later for Detroit, where the Patriots were playing their next game. "I hate leaving here," Kraft said. "You leave here and you leave some of the most brilliant people that you've ever met. You pick up so much knowledge from all these brilliant minds. All I have to do now is go to Detroit and be with the biggest," quote, and it's an F word and an A word, "in my life, my head coach." Bill was an idiot savant, Kraft told the confidant, according to the book, alluding to Belichick's reputation before he hired the former Browns coach in 2000. "I gave him this opportunity." Kraft sometimes groaned to confidants that Belichick didn't show him the respect he deserved, but was in no rush for life after him either, Wickersham writes. See, this is all stuff I'm surprised you didn't lead with this. This is your alley. This is the kind of gossip that fuels your on-air fire.
When it was a hot topic, yeah, but it's whatever now. Brady's on a different team. The Patriots are struggling. It's just kind of beating a dead horse to be at this point. This book, but I've said many times before, this book is already, most of this is already what we know, at least in my opinion. We know about Spygate. We know about Deflategate. We know that there was tension when Brady left, which is why I think Brady has that chip on his shoulder coming into the game this Sunday in Foxborough. So there's nothing new about this, really, except maybe a little bit more about what happened when Brady ended his tenure with the Patriots.
Well, as for the chip on the shoulder, there's a little bit of a difference between Brady and some of the other people that they interviewed for that study. One is that Brady was somebody that really wanted to be loved. I mean, that's part of it. But it's interesting that they talk about the chip on the chip on the shoulder, which you and I both. I'm not a believer in that either. I think those are things that are manufactured. Okay. And the chip on the shoulder, I think, has always been a manufactured thing about everything. I got a chip on my shoulder. It's like, okay, all right, sure. Toward the end of the dynastic run, Belichick commissioned an internal study to examine the traits of transcendent athletes: Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Tom Brady. And there are others that were also interviewed. The study revealed that while the motivations of the rest of the elite athletes centered around the themes of rage and manufactured conflict, and you know how I feel about both, Brady was different. He felt most at the peak of his powers, not when he was measuring the size of the chip on his shoulder, but when he was in a loving and supportive environment, Wickersham writes. We now go back to Matt's comment about the chip on the shoulder.
There you go.
There is no Brady, but that's not how he motivates himself. He doesn't motivate himself with a chip.
Yeah, but I don't believe that for a second. Because that's how he's admitted that before. He still has a chip in his shoulder from when he was drafted in the 6th round in 2001. I don't buy any of that for a second.
I don't buy chips. I don't buy chips in the shoulder. I don't believe in this stuff. I think every time you hear that, I think it's a fraud. I think, if something self-motivates you, I'm all for it. The great ones are the ones that are self-motivated. And you know what Brady has in common with Jordan? They both want to be coached. Jordan wanted to be coached. And Jordan wanted to be coached hard. Brady wanted to be coached. You want to be coached hard. Didn't mean there wouldn't be anytime you're coached hard, doesn't mean there's not conflict. Here's the bottom line. When you get into anything, you should go into something, any organization, with the desire to work with people who can make you better. Hey, don't go in with the desire you're going to be the hot shot and the world centers around you. Go into it with the idea that you're going to work with people who can make you better. And then you, in turn, it's your responsibility to do everything you can to make them better. The bottom line is, did Robert Kraft make Bill Belichick and Tom Brady better? Yes.
Yeah.
Did Bill Belichick make Robert Kraft and Tom Brady better? Yes. Did Tom Brady make Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick better? Yes. Okay? All three of them, okay, in one way or another, made each one of them better. And they desired to be in that relationship for almost 20 years because Brady knew playing for Robert Kraft made him better. He knew playing for Belichick made him better. Belichick kept Brady around because he knew it made him better. He worked for Kraft because he knew that Kraft had the resources to make him better. And Kraft kept Belichick and Brady because he knew it would make the New England Patriots better, thus making Kraft better. All right? When's the first time you ever heard it put like that? Probably now.
Well, I've always heard it I've heard the argument. I've always been in that argument that those three figures made each other better. It wasn't one or the other. Like the Brady versus Belichick thing, it wasn't one or the other. It was both of them. So I've always believed that.
I mean, everybody you hear now, well, Belichick was only great because of Brady. And there'll be some people, well, Brady was only great because of Belichick. I mean, that's what this week is about. And it's just the biggest fraud going. It's just a fraud. It's fraud analysis.
Yeah, that I totally agree with.
It's a total fraud. Okay? Brady made Kraft and Belichick better. Belichick made Brady and Kraft better. Kraft made Belichick and Brady better. That's how it's supposed to work. It doesn't mean the people skills are great. Belichick's people skills, as a leader, sometimes, you see him in press conferences sometimes. It's on to Cincinnati, things like that. Sometimes, his communication skills in situations like aren't great. Okay? But, this is one of those mythology fraud weeks where you just got to sit there and go, for people who are around sports all the time, they just write stuff to get clicks. Look, they did it in clusters. The Patriots won 3 Super Bowls early in Brady's tenure. They didn't win 10 years and did not win Super Bowls. They made runs, but they didn't win Super Bowls. And then they won the cluster of the next 3. All right. So today, Dave Zaguero's on the show, Jerry Dulack's on the show, Neil Coulong, Rich Scarcella tomorrow. Ryan Snyder on recruiting Friday. High school roundtable tomorrow. Selinsgrove Shikellamy.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. Online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai. Great new inventory. Fabulous pre-owned inventory, by the way, with the Sunbury Motors guarantee to back it up. It is all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15, Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Right. I'm really surprised at you.
Why is that?
I mean,
my take on the book?
This is where you thrive. This is where your personal hate, and it really is hate, for so many different individuals out there that have ruined your sports life. And I'm surprised you didn't, grab this and run with it, because they have ruined the last 20 years of your life.
If this had happened in 2014 when Deflategate came out, then yeah, it would have been all over it. But once again, this is mostly stuff we already knew.
But Deflategate to me is one of the... I'm sorry. I never have bought into it. I never have.
And that I did.
Not from day one. Have not bought into it. And it has nothing to do with, you're a Patriots fan. I'm not a Patriots fan. I grew up a New York Giants fan. They were the Boston Patriots when I was a kid. You heard Peter and me talking about it yesterday? Peter was a Giants fan growing up. Why? Because they were the NFL team at the time. It has nothing to do with the Patriots. Nothing. But I looked at it, I said, this is absurd. They won 45-7. Right? They did it because the football was inflated the wrong way? Really? They kept switching out footballs in the Super Bowl in every play because they give them to sponsors and so forth, and the major donors. And they still won the thing. Come on. That whole thing was done to appease the other owners in the league who were mad at the Patriots. It was all done to appease them, because they were furious, felt the Patriots were cheating and blah, 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 and they dragged it on for a year and a half. Real leader would have gotten rid of it in 2 days. 2 days would have gotten rid of it. Okay, 2 days. And I still believe to this day that one of the issues with it is that, did the officials really check all the footballs? Did they? I've always felt that was something behind, well, we better cover up for our own people here. Oh, we're going to have Rob Beer Temple on the show this week or next week about the Pirates. We're going to do that just to depress the passengers.
I was going to say, we got the Eagles and Steelers. Haven't we suffered enough right now?
Well,
nothing against Rob, of course.
There's one winning team in the state.
Yes, of course.
God,
That's the only thing. That's the only thing keeping people's spirits up right now.
Cardinals won 17 in a row. They made the playoffs.
We'll hear from that a little bit later on. Yeah.
So happy for three guys in particular. I'm really happy for. I'm happy for Harrison Bader, who's been terrific in this stretch. Second baseman Tommy Edman, who's been steady the whole season, and I'm really happy for Mike Schilt, the manager. Right, and it's really neat because all three of them were here with the Spikes, so you get to know people along the way, and I just think it's really cool for all of them that they've had this kind of success because they're all three really great guys. Edman, Bader, Schult's a great guy. I mean, Schult's your kind of guy. You really like him. And I think that's so I'm happy for them. Now, it's at obviously the Phillies' expense, but I mean, the Phillies, they've got trouble now. They did not win the opener last night. Lost, what was it, 2-1 last night? I mean, they have to win the division because now the wild card's out of it.
Correct. They basically have to win out now and get help.
Yeah. So, even though they win the next two, they're still a half game behind?
Yeah, they're 3.5 out with 5 to go. Or
3.5, so it'd be a game and a half out. And that's too much that's going to be too much. It's a lot to ask for. I mean, you need a total collapse of the Braves at this point. Nothing's out of the realm of possibility, of course. But I mean, that's the issue that they have moving forward.
But it doesn't matter because the Phillies play the Marlins to finish up the season anyway, so they're going to lose 2 out of 3. Because that's just what they do.
Again, the hate comes
I'm just
out.
being honest. Any Phillies fan will tell you. The Suit will tell you that. He's a Phillies fan. Chief would tell you that, too.
The Chief is still scarred by the 64 Phillies.
I know. There you go.
The Suit is scarred by a lack of knowledge. All right, so it's...
You take you a douche, you don't sit there and look at it, you flush it.
Oh, my God. We're going to hear that until the end of time.
I may or may not have too much fun with this.
I don't know. I'm not having fun with it. It's actually not fun for me to listen to it. Just, No, it doesn't mean the fans aren't having fun. If they're having fun with it, then keep playing it. Me, I'm like, do I have to keep hearing that? I mean, really? Yeah. Lingerie on the deck? I can hear that all day. Oh, man. By the way, the Bears did officially buy the Arlington Park property today. $197.2 million. This is a big area. I mean, they bought it from Churchill Downs, by the way. Have you ever been to Arlington Park?
I think I may have walked past it because I was in Chicago for a wedding 2 summers ago.
It's about 30 miles northwest of Soldier Field, about 20 miles southwest of the Bears headquarters at Hallis Hall, and 16 miles northwest of O'Hare. Okay? So it's 30 miles away from downtown. Now, there is a buyout here. If the Bears, it's a 326-acre property, by the way. Now, Arlington Heights is not going to cure everything. I mean, Matt's at least been out there, so he knows what I'm talking about. The traffic's still going to be bad. I mean, no matter what. I mean, they need, they do have, there's an interstate that runs right past it, the whole deal, but you need better infrastructure around the property. They're going to have a lot of parking, because it's a huge property. but they can't keep playing at Soldier Field. I mean, they did a lot of work on Soldier Field. It's 2001, but it was, you're talking about 20 years ago. Looks like a spaceship now with Roman columns on the outside of it. Literally. When you look at the Cubs situation, everybody's talking about, they had the big sell-off. Well, remember, the Cubs put a lot of money into Wrigley Field. I mean, a lot of money. So how do you repay it? Well, you got to figure out how to do it, and sometimes you got to cut salaries to do it. Now, a new stadium does not affect the on-field product. I mean, let's be honest about it. How good have the Cowboys been since they built Jerry World? Right? I mean, this is not like pouring money into facilities like they do in college football because you're trying to recruit around it. I mean, here you draft. You got to be smart about how you draft, who you sign, who you let go. We were just talking about how the Patriots are built. And how much is a Bears ticket going to be once they build the stadium? But there is a buyout that's involved here. There is a buyout. And they would have to pay, I believe, $84 million if they leave in the next 5 years. I believe the number drops for each year after 5 to break the lease. Now, we talked about Pat Ryan last week about Northwestern, and he's committed a lot of money to Northwestern. You look at I don't know if you've ever seen the Northwestern football building. It's beyond what I've seen anywhere. It's right on the shores of Lake Michigan. It is phenomenal. And believe me, compared to what they had before, it's a 180. I saw what they had before. You're like, yikes. Well, Pat Ryan helped put money into that. Same thing with Welsh Ryan Arena. Well, Ryan's committed $480 million to Northwestern, some of which is going to renovate Ryan Field. But he's also one of the minority owners of the Bears. And the question has to be, do the Ryans have unlimited funds? I mean, one has to venture at some point. The answer is no. They don't have unlimited funds. At the moment, it just seems that way. But they're working. I mean, the Eagles don't have that problem. Steelers don't have that problem. Although I'll say this, the difference between Heinz Field and the Link, no offense, the Link is a better stadium. I like the Link, to be honest with you.
Well, not only that, too, but you've got the whole sports complex right there in South Philly.
Well, I mean, that's what Pittsburgh has. Essentially, without the arena, which is on the other side of the river, I mean, PNC Park and Heinz Field are right next to each other.
A little bit down the street, but yeah, essentially. A short walk away.
Well, I mean, how long do you think the walk is between Citizens Bank Park and the Link? It's the same walk. It's no difference. It just looks like they're next to each other, but there's a little further. They just share parking lots. It's the same thing with PNC Park and Heinz Field. They pretty much share parking lots. And the way the Pirates have played, they didn't need any of the Steeler parking this year.
It may be a while.
A while? We'll have Rob on later, maybe even early next week to talk about it. But, yeah, a while is a good way of putting it. It's going to be a while. We just did it deliberately, having Rob on, because, we want people to hear how the other half lives. Wow. All right, we'll take a break. Speaking of how the other half lives, we'll talk about the Eagles in the next half hour. This will be refreshing. With Dave Zagaro, you think?
Get the lingerie on the deck. Call the janitor.
No? All right, back with more in a moment. Hey, by the way, are you going to see the new Bond movie?
Actually, to be honest, I haven't seen any of them, so...
So no. Okay,
yeah.
fine. Wow.
Yeah, I know. Like I said, I'm very bad with movies.
Supposedly the reviews are outstanding. But, all right. We'll come back with more in a moment. Great to have you with us. I mean, you miss out on seeing Jim Bob Bond? We'll come back with more in a moment here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you, the other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.
He's a outstanding person. He's as pure as mother's milk. He just basically steps out there and gives you everything he's got, and nature gave him some skills, and boy, does he know how to use it.
The Cowboys owner Jerry Jones on the suit.
This has been an interesting week, man.
Quite an endorsement. It's actually talking about Micah Parsons. I thought it was a positive thing to say about the suit, so I ran with it. Got a note from the suit. If you could say more positive things about the suit, that would be great. I'd like, it'd be nice if somebody else wrote the memo, but that's all right.
Get the lingerie on the deck. Call the janitor.
He keeps wanting me to give him a picture of James and myself doing the talk show. So I've sent whatever I have that people have sent me over the years. Not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. I finally said to him today, I said, look, what do you want me to do? Take a selfie? I mean, it's like I'm doing the show. I can't take pictures of it. It's like, come on. Oh, my goodness. Oh. Hold on, James. Oh, my goodness.
No, senor! No, senor! No, senor!
So you got Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss against Alabama this week. And I guess Michael Wilbon referred to Lane Kiffin as a clown, right?
Well, is that what was said? I saw that he said something about him that kind of fired everybody up, but I didn't know what it was because it's PTI.
There's nothing to be proud of if you're college football. There's nothing to be proud of if you're college football because of Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin is a clown. Lane Kiffin has been an embarrassment at multiple stops. Nobody's going to run out there and say, yeah, I want Lane Kiffin right there on the logo representing me. Lane Kiffin's a cute little story for guys like us who have to talk about sports every day, and we can come in and say, ha, 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 Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin equals embarrassment at some point wherever he is.
Not totally wrong, but a little harsh.
He's been a little more mature, I think, in this stop at Ole Miss. How about that?
Yeah, I would agree.
I think at Florida Atlantic, I thought for the most part he handled that well. He was given too much too soon. The Raiders, USC, Tennessee.